Welcome, everybody, to the SideLine Speaks with Brittany Jones, Kevin Walker. I am Jason Collins. We're excited to have you here tonight. We've got a special guest, Andre Collins, former All American linebacker at Penn State, national champion, Super Bowl champion. He took home all the trophies, ladies and gentlemen. Andre, welcome to the show, man. How you doing tonight?
All right, brother. Literally, thanks for having me on. Uh, nice to see Brittany. Kevin, always good to see you. Jason did mention that I took home all the trophies, so I'm back here in kind of, I guess, the trophy lounge at the Collins household in Cinnaminton, New Jersey. So for you, Kev, just so you'll play nice tonight, I did want to bring out this Timmy Award for being the Redskins Rookie of the Year back in 1990. Awesome. And I'm also repping Cinnaminton tonight.
Oh man, I was gonna bring my shirt out too, Dre. That's so funny, man. That's so funny.
Yeah, that's
we speaking with a real winner tonight.
That's right. That's right. And I don't know if that was a shot fired there, Britt, or not, but and we're going to get into all of it tonight. But Dre, really, I kind of want to go back to the beginning, man. Obviously, us growing up in the same household, you playing football all throughout, Little League, and then being a great high school player. But when did you know, man? Because I think every high school player thinks that they're going to go play football at the next level. And obviously that's not reality for most people. But when did you kind of know, you know what, I'm good enough to go play Division I college football?
Well, I tell you, it's funny because back then I really wasn't thinking about it. I knew had always been some great players at Cinnaminton, namely Topper Clemens, who was 5 years before me at Cinnaminton, who ended up playing a little bit for the Dallas Cowboys. He played his college football at Wake Forest. But for me, I really wasn't thinking about it. It was really weird. And then another pretty good player at Cinnaminton in those years, he never went pro, but he did run track in college. Gary Watson had said to me during my sophomore year, he said, you know what? He said, you're going to play Division I. And I had no idea what that was. I had no idea what that was about. But then I think that's the kind of thing that had turned on the light switch for me. And I said, how do I do that? And I started to try and investigate a little bit. And really, at the end of the day, you just have to work hard. And, God blesses you with some ability, but you still have to put in the work. And that's the common denominator for going to the next level.
Yeah. And then obviously, great high school career. The recruiting process begins. You were the first one in our immediate family, obviously. Talk to us a little bit about that recruiting process and then how you eventually ended up at Penn State.
Well, I tell you, once I realized that I had a chance to play college football, I think Catawba College in North Carolina was the very first letter that I got. And I didn't know what that was, but I was excited that someone wanted me. So I tried to picture myself at Catawba. I'm glad that never happened. Nothing against Catawba. But then, you start to get more mail from all the big schools, kind of after your junior season, going into your senior season. And you really just start to think that there's an opportunity. So it was all the schools. And it was kind of flattering. I never really had to be in that position where I was worried that I wasn't going to get an opportunity because there was just so much mail and so much opportunity. I can even remember at one point thinking I was going to go to UCLA, and then you go on your visits and, all of that gets kind of turned upside down. And then in our household, you have a mother that loves Penn State so much. So for me, in the end, I visited Michigan, Iowa, Stanford, and Illinois. And I really wanted to go to the University of Illinois for just some reason. I think they wooed me with those uniforms back in the day. They were really one of the first schools that was wearing multiple uniforms. And I really liked that. And when I went out there, they did the whole thing on the scoreboard in the locker room.
Yeah.
And as an 18-year-old boy, I was like, oh, this is the place for me. But mom
Yeah.
said, that's not the place for you. You're going to spend your time at Penn State, underneath the snow and the rain. So that's what I did. So. But it was good, though. All in all, I think your mom knows you best. And I'm so glad, and I've said it before, I'm so glad today that I'm a Penn State man. Penn State truly shaped me, shaped my pro career, gave me the best football education, gave me the best college education. And, it's still such a big part of my life and who I am.
Yeah, for sure. So mom puts down the hammer. You end up in Happy Valley. Freshman year, you guys win the national championship. Talk about that experience a little bit. You were playing on special teams, a little role on the defensive side of the ball, but talk about just that experience of winning that national championship.
Yeah, I mean, it got off to a little bit of a rocky start because I think, anytime, and you guys played ball, anytime you show up as a freshman, you have high expectations, but it's really not in the cards to play early. And, it was no different for me at Penn State. I was not going to get on the field at all. And I remember that first night, I didn't even get to go to the team hotel the night before the game. And I think we all stayed up as freshmen. I was so tired. It was a night game the next night. I just remember being down on my knee during the game, watching the game. We opened up against Temple that year. And I remember almost falling asleep on the sideline. I was just so absolutely bored, and I wanted to play. But the one thing I realized that night is that, I said to myself, I said, oh man, I said, these guys are moving fast. And I said, if I'm going to play here, I've got to find another gear. But a few weeks went by and they tested me out on special teams. I really don't know why they played me on special teams. I was no better than any of the older players on the team, but I guess he wanted to throw a few freshmen out there, and I was out there along with Brian Chismar, who ended up being a great player at Penn State. And we really just covered kicks and covered punts and got pushed around a lot. Then I think at some point later in the season, they started to use me in the prevent defense. So I was really like, yeah, I'm actually playing. But those were few and far between. But we had a great team that year. So I got to watch a lot of great players lead Penn State. Shane Conlon, who in my mind is still the greatest linebacker that ever played at Penn State. I mean, that guy was an assassin. In the locker room, he would literally say, I'm going to take that guy out. and he would take that guy out. And I just said, I want to play like him. But there were so many great players, John Schaefer on offense, not flashy, but just managed the team, was a great leader. DJ Dozier was a great running back, didn't get enough credit as a college running back. On defense, Ray Isom, a little known safety, but he would come up and knock your block off. So I was just playing with all these amazing, tough guys that had just tremendous resolve to win. And I learned that. And I think the big win for us that year, I think we were going, we were closing down the season. We might have been 2 or 3 games away from the end. And we had to go down to Alabama and play Alabama on campus in Tuscaloosa. And it was the hottest environment. I mean, we were not welcome at all. And this was the Alabama team with Cornelius Bennett and Derek Thomas.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys were loaded, and we stomped them in Tuscaloosa. We beat them 20-3. And then Michigan lost, which kind of moved us up to number 2. And we just had to kind of finish out against Pitt, which I love stepping on Pitt. So we finished out Pitt, and we got Miami in the national championship game. Just the thing I remember from that night in Arizona in that championship game, just how many talented players were on the field, and again, I was still just covering kicks, so I was mostly watching, but the energy in the stadium was unbelievable. All the incidents leading up to the game,
Yes.
the night before the game, or 2 nights before, we had a big steak dinner, outdoor barbecue, with both teams, and some of the seniors got up on stage to just have a little fun.
Right.
And Vinny Testaverde had won the Heisman that year, and I don't think our players really meant anything. They weren't really poking fun at Vinny, but we had a guy in our locker room who was one of the equipment managers who used to always strike the Heisman pose. It's not like Penn State hasn't had a Heisman winner either, so it was just a fun thing that he was doing, and out of fun, they called him up on stage to strike the Heisman pose, and he did, and Miami thought we were making fun of Testaverde, so Jerome Brown and all those guys got up, made a big ruckus. Here we are all at the freshman table, enjoying this fine meal, because we don't get steak that often.
Right.
Next thing you know, Joe's telling us to hit the buses. We're trying to bring our plates with us. He's saying, leave the plates. And, we were back on the bus, and, we even fought before the game. I mean, there was just a lot of bad blood between those two schools the night before that game. They kind of ran through our warm-ups, and I mean, we had some tough guys on our team, and as tough as they were, our guys were not going to take that. So it was toe to toe all night, and just the most exciting game. And I just remember after we won, being in the locker room, watching those seniors that had lost a national championship the year before to Oklahoma come back, win every game, beat the #1 team in the championship. They cried all over each other. They told us freshmen how great we were going to be, and this is how you do it. Joe Paterno, just the most fantastic coach I've ever been around, college or pro. It was just an amazing experience, and that was just a beautiful night in Tempe that night.
Yeah, man. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I don't even know if you know this story, but obviously back at home, we all had our Fiesta Bowl t-shirts on, and we're all watching the game as a family. And when it came down to that final drive, man, I don't know if it was 3rd or 4th down, but I couldn't take it. I couldn't take the pressure. I went into the laundry room. I couldn't watch the final play. And then I heard everyone screaming. I guess, was it Pete Giftopoulos who made that final interception at the end? So I hear everybody screaming, and then I come running back out to celebrate because the pressure was just too much for me. I could not even watch the last couple plays of that game.
No, I can. I don't know if I'm breaking up a little on you guys, but I can certainly relate to that. Even now, after all these years, when I'm watching a close game and my team is struggling, I can't watch. I got to turn away. It's painful to watch Penn State sometimes, and I gotta walk out of the room. So yeah, no, I understand completely, and I think that comes from being so competitive that you just can't separate yourself from the action that's happening on TV. I remember even when I was a kid, watching boxing or football on TV. Dad would always send me to the kitchen because with every punch or every hit, I was, I was annoying. He was like, you can't watch this. So no, it was a lot of different things, but no, it was just a competitive spirit, and I understand that fully.
Yeah. Now, look, you mentioned Joe Paterno, obviously, and you talked about the fondness that you have about Penn State and Coach Joe. Every Penn State player, man, has things that Joe has said or Joe has done that just sticks with you. You can't let it go. I know for me, there's quotes that stick with me. I still show up 15 minutes early for everything just because that was ingrained in us. What are some of the things, man? Is there a quote? Is there anything that Joe said or did that just still sticks with you even 30, 40 years later?
Yeah, I mean, I still, even to this day, I still hear his voice in my head, kind of trying to guide me, through some tough things sometimes. But, even though I played early as a freshman, I didn't get a chance to start until my junior year. And I remember, and this was tough. They gave us some tough lessons. I remember Ron Dickerson calling me, who was the defensive backs coach at the time, calling me over the summer during my that summer before my sophomore year, saying, hey, train hard, come back ready, because we're going to need you to start, at strong safety. So I had all this, geared up in my mind, and I came back and I didn't win the job. And I was mad. I mean, I was furious. But in hindsight, I really wasn't ready. I didn't understand break on routes. I didn't understand when a guy went flat, someone was coming into the curl. I still needed to learn all those things. So he was right, but I didn't at the time. I was right. And and then Ron even later called me into his office and basically said, "You're never going to play here because you just don't have the feet to play defensive back." So for me, I didn't, I heard I'm going to go out here onto the practice field. I'm going to fight everybody. I'm going to be disruptive, and I'm just going to make a mess of these practices. So I pushed guys. I fought guys after every play. So the quote I heard the most from Joe was, "I'm nuts. Get out of here." The locker room almost every week. And I would, by the time I was a senior, my roommates and friends just got tired of it. And they would say, I used to say, "Come on, Joe, I want justice." But that didn't make any sense. But I was really saying, "Come on, Joe, it wasn't me," when it really was me. But he threw me out so many times. So that's what I hear. But you really can't hear his voice. And it's just so funny how every player in that locker room can do Joe's voice to a T.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so All-American at Penn State. Career turned out really nice for you there. You end up being the first pick of the then Washington Redskins in the draft. Talk about that, man. You get to the NFL. What was that rookie year like? What were some of the things that kind of transpired that rookie season for you?
Yeah, well, the draft was very different back then in 1990. I don't even know if guys were going to New York at that time. I just remember watching at Nittany Apartments by myself, and there were no cell phones. So you're just waiting by the rotary phone for someone to call. So I was really just by myself. I didn't want to waste anybody's, day, sitting there, watching the TV with me. So, the Saints called at first and said they wanted to draft me. So I was like, of course, on the call, I was like, "Oh, that's great, Coach Mora. Can't wait to get down there and go to work." But thank God they drafted Ronaldo Turnbull, who was a linebacker from West Virginia at the time. So they passed me by. I was a little bit hurt, but not too upset, because then Washington called right after that, and they said they were going to take me with the first pick, and that Coach Gibbs was standing by to get on the phone. So when he got on the phone, he said, "We're going to take you here with our pick." And I after I hung up the phone, I turned to the TV, and there it was. I was heading to the then Washington Redskins, and growing up in South Jersey, Eagles. I'm sorry, Brittany. Eagles weren't much to think about or watch. Back in those days. So most of those Eagles games were blacked out. So we used to get the Washington games all the time. So it was a team I knew. It was a team that our whole family enjoyed watching. I think Dad was a Washington fan. Our sister Cheryl was a Washington fan, like diehard. So it was a team that we knew. And just going down there my rookie year, coming from Penn State, I felt like I was prepared. And the thing that really surprised me was that I was super prepared. I felt like Joe Sarah, the linebacker coach at Penn State, had me pro ready. And I showed up on day one in Washington, and the older guys, it was hot out there, and we had a very veteran team, and those older guys used to let me stay out there and take reps. And I used to just use that to my advantage. I said, I'm going to know these plays. I'm going to soak up every opportunity. And, just so happened, the linebacker coach, Larry Peccatello, who I love, and I played for him 8 out of my 10 pro years, all around the league, really started to trust me. And that's all it took. Once a coach trusts you, you're out there. And if you're out there, sooner or later, you're going to make a play. And that's what I did. And it was an amazing first year. I worked hard. I surprised myself a little bit. We had a really good team at the end of that 1990 season. We got to the playoffs. If not for San Francisco, we probably would have won 3 Super Bowls in a row. But then coming back, 1991, that Super Bowl season was just pretty special. We were just picking up where we left off at the end of 1990.
Yeah,
we
man.
beat the Eagles. We did beat the Eagles in the playoffs.
Funny story about that Super Bowl. Kevin and I were on a recruiting visit together that weekend. We were at the University of Maryland that weekend, and we watched that Super Bowl together in our hotel room.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. But man, you guys really beat down Buffalo that day. Any memories just from that game in particular?
I just remember how intense the night before, how intense the team was. We had been the best team in pro football that whole season, and just, getting to the Super Bowl, we just really wanted to win. And we had some veteran guys who had won 2 before, who had been to 3. So they knew how to get there. They knew how to behave, and they knew what it took. But we had some young guys sprinkled in. And I just remember the night before the game, it was like a players only meeting. And some of those vets stood up there and just kind of poured it out. So I knew it just wasn't another game. And you hear guys talk about, oh, it's just another game. It wasn't just another game for those guys. They really wanted to win and really needed to win. And they let us all know that. So we stayed a couple of hours away from downtown Minneapolis the night before. And we had 3 buses that were going to go into the stadium that morning. And I'll be darned, everybody was on that first bus. That first bus was packed out. Everybody wanted to get there. And I just remember, we had to wait a long time for the game because the game's a little bit late.
Right.
But when we came out, man, I just remember we were just putting a hurt on Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly. And we were a hitting team. Defensively, we could hit. And that's what we were going to try and stand on that day. And we got a big lead, and we were able to hold on. And it was just a relief winning after having been the best team all year.
Yeah. And at that time, the NFC East was known for being the best division in football. It seemed like the whole conference is a rivalry, really. But from a player's perspective in Washington, was any one of those teams a bigger rival than the other? Was it the Cowboys? Was it the Eagles? Was from a player standpoint?
Yeah, and and all those teams, not counting the Cardinals, but the Giants. We had trouble beating the Giants, so that was always a tough game for us.
Yeah.
Philadelphia could always beat New York in those days, so we kind of took turns, and for the most part, we could beat Philadelphia. And the Cowboys had just spent a few seasons really being not very good. But then, come 1990, they were really starting to hit their stride. But in our locker room, there's no doubt about it that it was the Dallas Cowboys. There were just people in our organization that had been there for decades, and they hated Dallas, just absolutely hated Dallas. And the story goes back. I mean, and they even hated Tom Landry. Like, who can hate Tom Landry?
I know, right? Right.
Tom Landry. And I think the story goes back to, it was either Ed Too Tall Jones or Harvey Too Mean Martin before one of the playoff games back in the 70s. He walked into the then Redskins locker room and threw a funeral wreath in there and said, like, good luck. So it was bitter like that.
Wow.
And they indoctrinated us young players to really not like Dallas. And today I still don't root for Dallas. It's the one team that I just absolutely can't stand. So that was our rival, and it ran deep, and we really wanted to beat them. And the whole city of Washington, for the most part, really wanted to beat them. I hated them so much that I had a chance to play an 11th season, and it would have been with the Cowboys. And I said, I'm not going to do that.
Wow.
See, now that's what I'm talking about.
Wow.
That's where it ends. I'm retired at that point.
Yeah. All right, man. As a player, I mean, you had a knack for making some big plays, a lot of interceptions, taking them all the way back for touchdowns. Sort of got that nickname, Big Play Dre. Is there one play now that you're done, now that you're removed from it, when you just kind of sit back, you think about your career? Is there any plays that really stand out to you when you're like, man, you know what? That was a heck of a play. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, man. I mean, yes, of course. There were a lot of plays when I look back. It was almost like an outer body experience. The interception against BYU at Penn State, when Ty Detmer was, going in for the 2-point conversion, and he threw an interception. I picked it off on the goal line and ran it back 100 yards to give Penn State 2 points. That was a big play, and I never get tired of watching.
Hold that thought for 1 minute. Britt, cue up the video, because I pulled my favorite play, and Britt's going to cue up the video right now. Go ahead, Britt.
All right, here we go.
Now the execution becomes the critical factor. Intercepted by Collins. Andre Collins. This could go. This is the new college rule. Oh, we've seen it all at the SeaWorld Holiday Bowl. But they're not.
Thank you, brother. I never get tired of watching. What I love most about that at the very end, when everyone, that was Penn State. You don't go running off and you don't celebrate by yourself. Everyone came right in. If you had watched that whole clip through, everyone.
Yeah.
Did we lose him?
Yeah,
I hope not.
A little bit.
Everyone, came right in, jumped on top, and celebrated together. I don't know if we're.
Yeah, you're breaking up just
my
a little
connection's
bit.
a little shy now.
We can hear you though. We can hear you.
Yeah,
but hopefully everyone can still hear me, so I'll keep going.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, I don't know if we lost Dre there or not. Let's see it. We'll see if he bounces back in. I really just had one more question for him here, if he bounces back in. But yeah, I remember that BYU interception. And K-Walk, you said you were watching that game too?
Yeah, absolutely, brother. I remember that, man. I remember that. And I remember, I wasn't, me in the Penn State, I wasn't a Penn State guy, but I know that was before my Temple days. But it was just, I was just that guy that was like, oh, I'm sick of these Collins guys. I'm sick of hearing all about these Collins guys. And then for him to do that and to be the first one to do it, like, one of the first ones to do it, I was even more mad. But that was just the young
me. We got him back.
Great stuff. But there it is.
All right, Dre, we got you back.
Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, sorry about that. Technology. But yeah, that was a great play. Everyone came together and kind of jumped on. But I think for me, the play that I think, kind of personifies, my career and, just the energy that it took to be successful in the NFC Championship game in that 1990. It was actually a sack when I dove over Barry Sanders and sacked Eric Kramer at a big at a big point in the game. And I just felt so big, and it was such an important play that I always say that was my favorite game of my career and my favorite play.
Nice.
Yeah, that's huge, man. That's huge. All right, man. I only got one more, and then we'll let you get out of here. Let's talk about a little bit what you're up to now. It's kind of come full circle, right? You're the executive director for the Professional Athletes Foundation at the NFLPA. Just tell us a little bit about what you're up to and kind of what you do in that role and how you're helping former players.
Yeah, I tell you, football has given me so much in my life. And, having been able to work at the NFL Players Association for the past 18 years, and now in my 8th year running the NFLPA's foundation, the Professional Athletes Foundation, where, most of our mission is to serve former players that are in need or transforming from the game. So for me, having been an athlete, I really understand what it's like after your sports career is over to kind of lose a sense of purpose in your life for a stretch. So for me, that's my main focus when I wake up every day. I just want to help these former players figure out what is the most important next thing in their life and really give them a sense of purpose. I have a great team that works with me. They care deeply about the players. I work for a great organization that has tremendous resources to be able to help in so many ways. So I'll be honest. I mean, I can probably count the days on on one hand when I, maybe didn't feel like going to work. But for the most part of those 18 years, I've been up, I've been ready, and I've been excited to try and help someone.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff, man. All right, Dre, thanks so much, man, for jumping on with us.
Sure.
We had a ball. Appreciate you taking the time. That was great stuff, great stories, great trip down memory lane. We appreciate you coming on tonight.
For sure, man, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Good seeing you. Thank you. Take care. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Got it, buddy.
All right, let's go to a quick commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we've got some other sports topics to get into. You're listening to the SideLine Speaks with Brittany Jones, Kevin Walker, and Jason Collins, and we'll be right back.
CampLyman.com is an opportunity for my big boys to come get some work. Let's put it all together. We built from the ground up. Our cliche is it all starts up front. Once again, start, stance, hand placement, hand separation, get-offs, counter moves, a little bit of everything. Polish up those skills before your middle school or high school season began. Just come work on your craft. Once again, CampLyman.com.
You're inside Never Had It So Good Sports Radio with Princess Cooper, Tim Moore, David the Duck Riley, Jason Collins, Shoshana Cook, Brittany Jones, Travis McGee, Eric Scott, and Kevin Walker. We make it easy to talk sports.
All right. Welcome back to the SideLine Speaks with myself, Brittany Jones, alongside Jason Collins and Kevin Walker right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Media Network. Once again, thank you to Jay's brother, Andre Collins.
Thank you, brother.
For coming on. I think that was Jay, he's a winner. Sorry.
That's a fun trip. Yeah. National championship, Super Bowl. Yes. My goodness. Yeah. Cleaned up.
He won on every level that you could think of. I don't know if did he win in high school too?
Nah, we're the only ones to do that.
We the only ones that over his
there you go.
So y'all hold that one.
We got the championship in high school, K-Walk. And not to toot my own horn, but I do hold the rushing record as well over him as well. But I didn't want to get into that during the interview.
Love it.
Yeah. Oh, and we didn't get a chance to ask, but I know you guys were on Oprah. I keep coming back to Oprah, guys. I'm just, Jay, Andre and your other brothers, right? And family
Yeah.
all got the
Yeah.
chance to be on Oprah. We gotta find that clip, Jay. I need to find that clip.
We'll find it. We'll
And
upload
Jay,
it one of these
and you
days.
know what I love about it, guys, too, is like a lot of the references that he had with Coach Ron Dickerson, his position coach. That was my head coach at Temple
Right.
University. Then he mentioned,
Right.
you know, winning the Super Bowl. Mark Rippon was the quarterback there. His son
Yeah.
now plays for Temple. So, you know,
Yeah.
a couple connections there. Just wanted to throw
Yeah.
that out there, guys.
The football family is small,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
big, but you can
Mhm.
make connections all over the place,
Yes,
you
sir.
know? So
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
for sure.
Mhm.
Definitely. But we definitely have to get him to come back because he was great, and I would love to ask him more questions when he comes back. But guys, you ready to talk some sports?
Yeah,
Let's
let's
do
get
it. Let's do
into
it.
it. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So I had a bunch of stuff planned, some topics planned, all this planned, but we got so much breaking news today that we just have to talk about it. And of course, it's dealing with the NBA, and of course, it's dealing with Jay's Brooklyn Nets. But if you don't know, those who are listening, spread the news about our show, by the way. You about to find out right now. The Brooklyn Nets announced today that they have fired head coach Steve Nash after a 2-5 start to the season. But not only did they fire Steve Nash, Ben Simmons has also been out due to knee soreness as well. It never ends with the Brooklyn Nets. But before we get into the team stuff, what are your thoughts on the firing of Steve Nash? Jay, I'm going to save you for last because
Okay.
you're a huge fan of the Nets, at least for right now. K-Walk, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, it's kind of surprising to me, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying that because I think Steve Nash is a great coach. I don't think he's a great coach at all. I think he got that position because, you know, he was nominated or, had Kyrie and KD who actually, was, pulling for this guy to be the head coach. So when you see it, I'm looking at it like, wow, I didn't expect it to happen. I expected it to happen, but not this early in the season. I think after you watched that game last night to an Indiana Pacer team, who's probably going to be at the end of the day, going to be at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, at the end of the year, as far as record goes, they just struggled with those guys. And it just seems like they just had no type of chemistry, no type of organization, if you will. You mentioned Ben Simmons was out there. So, yeah, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised at the same time because I know that was Kyrie's guy. I know that was KD's guy. For him to be out at this early in the season is kind of surprising to me, but I think it's a move that had to be made nonetheless. So there's rumors out there that Coach Yu, the former coach for the Boston Celtics, who led the Celtics to the NBA Finals last year, there's rumors that he may be the new head coach. So that's going to be interesting to see if that does come to fruition. But I'm definitely surprised, but not surprised if that makes any sense there, guys, as far as Steve Nash goes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I know they're talking about Coach Yu, and they're basically saying it's a done deal. I know the Nets came out and said a couple hours later, like, well, wait a minute, we're still considering it. We're not sure yet. But it's like, do you want more of that in your locker room right now?
Mm-hmm.
I know he's a great coach because what he did with the Boston Celtics team was just amazing, in my opinion. But I just don't know if you want more of that controversial type of person in your locker room right now. But as far as Steve Nash, I kind of feel bad for Steve Nash. I just felt like he never really got the real chance to really get the opportunity to coach this team, because what's the first thing Kyrie came out and said when they hired him? We don't need a coach.
We don't need a coach.
That's exactly. We don't need a coach. So I don't think he ever really had the locker room like you want your coach to really have. He never really had command of the locker room. So I don't know if he had that level of respect that a lot of these veteran coaches or even young coaches have when you look at around the league. So it's interesting. I'm not surprised that they fired him. Because I don't think they weren't listening. If he was coaching them, they clearly were not listening at all. So, but Jay, what are your thoughts on this? Because this is your team.
Yeah, Britt, and your last point is exactly why I'm glad they fired him. Because to me, if you're a good coach, you've got to demand and command the respect of your team. And it was clear that Steve Nash did not have that. To me, one of the marks of a good coach is that you can take a team that's maybe not as good but you can see improvement. You can make them good. And I just did not see that with Steve Nash at all. So even when guys were out, even when guys were hurt, you would like to see him coach up the guys that he had on the roster, and he could not do that. Honestly, to me, the only thing I saw Steve Nash do is high five people, like coming off on the sideline. He's slapping everybody's hand, but he's not drawing up anything on the whiteboard. So I was glad to see him go. I feel like he was in over his head. I don't think he was ready to be an NBA coach, especially not on a team that had those type of personalities. I think you need a stronger personality to run that team. And you're right, Britt. Do you want to bring Coach U in with all the drama that's swirled around him? I get it. But on the other hand, I feel like he has that strong personality. He's going to demand defense out of this ball club. So he's probably the best fit in a really, really bad situation. But man, you're right. I mean, it just seems like drama follows Brooklyn everywhere they go. But I feel like Nash had to go because that was a team that just wasn't getting any better. So good move to fire him now rather than wait. If they do get Coach U, it'll be interesting to see if he can turn that thing around. At this point, I'm really not sure if he can, because they're just a complete mess right now. Britt, is there any room on that Sixers bandwagon?
Oh, Lord.
No, I'm not doing this again.
Oh,
nope.
Lord.
I tried with the Eagles. I gave
Lord.
you a chance with the Eagles, and you completely threw my team to the side like we was hot garbage. I'm not doing that again. I learned my
on
lesson
air.
first.
On air. Not he didn't take her to the park. He didn't take her to the
Exactly.
restaurant and break up what he
He
broke
did
up
it
in front of
live
everybody.
on air.
Front of
I accept
everybody.
it. I accept it.
You are on your own this time.
I
You're on your
accept
own.
that.
But thank goodness the Eagles are doing well, right, K-Walk?
For your sake,
bad,
yeah.
if we were doing bad, I look crazy.
Right.
But no, so and it's funny because yes, they're going to eventually get a new coach, and it might be Coach U. My understanding is Boston basically like he's gone, he's out of here. But here's my thing: can Coach U really come in and fix the issues as far as egos? Because Kyrie, I love Kyrie as a player, but he has one of the biggest egos in the locker room. Jay, do you think he could come in and just tame? I don't want to say tame, but kind of control and bring Kyrie back in. I'm not sure if he can.
It's a great question. One thing we know is that KD isn't the kind of leader that's going to say anything to Kyrie. So if your other superstar is not going to say anything, you need a coach who will. I feel like Coach U kind of has that personality where he's going to command and demand respect and effort and defense from his players. Don't forget, he coached in Brooklyn 1 year under Steve Nash, so he does have a relationship with some of these players as well. Britt, I don't know if anybody can reel Kyrie in, so to speak, because he just seems like he's going to do his own thing no matter what. But I feel like Coach U will be, if anybody can do it, Coach U seems like he's a guy who can. And I also wouldn't be surprised if at some point they decide to move Kyrie. Like if he's going to be a contrarian, if he's going to be a guy that just wants to go his own way, at some point you have to ask yourself, is what he's given us on the floor worth everything that we have to deal with otherwise? So I wouldn't be shocked if they move Kyrie at some point, but if anybody can do it, I think Coach U would be just as good as any other coach in the league to try to rein Kyrie in.
Yeah, this is definitely gonna be interesting because my other issue with the Nets would be Ben Simmons. I've said it before the season. He has to be aggressive, and he does not want to do it. And I know Coach U also has a relationship with Ben Simmons from his time with the Philadelphia 76ers because he was our one of the coaching assistants here as well. But it's like nobody can get through to these two players, and it's going to be interesting to see as the season goes along. But hopefully they'll get it together. It's still early in the season, like I've been saying, so hopefully they'll get it together.
And Britt, you tried to warn me about Ben Simmons, and I didn't want to believe it. But when I saw him out there still looking like he's afraid to shoot, and then you see it even like I understood from 15 feet out that he was scared, but now 5 feet, he looks nervous. He looks scared.
Mm-hmm.
K-Walk, I sent you that clip. He airballed a layup last week.
Yeah.
So he's definitely in his own head. I'm not sure that he can be fixed. So they got a lot of problems, Britt. That's why I'm searching. That's why I'm looking around. I'm trying to figure out which team I can go to next. Because man, it ain't happening in Brooklyn right now.
But guys, so my next one, it's a couple questions, and I really just want to kind of pick between the 3 teams. Okay, so the 3 teams I have, they're supposedly supposed to be the good teams, but they're all terrible thus far. And so we have the Brooklyn Nets 2-5, the LA Lakers 1-5. They're really hot garbage right now, and the LA Clippers 3-4. So which team are you concerned most about? K-Walk, I'm gonna come to you first on this one.
I mean, I think the obvious one is the Lakers. I mean, there's just no fixing those guys in this point unless you're going to make a drastic move and you're going to move Russell Westbrook or move AD or even possibly move LeBron, which I don't think that's in the cards. But the previous 2 that I mentioned, if you're looking to get some guys in here, man, that you got to move one of those 3 pieces. It's just there's no other trade. There's no other commodities there, for to get something back that can actually help you win. And everyone says that you look around the league, you look around everywhere, and when you watch this team, they're lacking one thing, which is key, which is shooters. They don't have any shooters on this particular team. So have a LeBron, drive and dish, or have a Russell Westbrook drive and dish, that type of thing. You got those 3 guys taking the most shots, and they're not pure jump shooters. I mean, they're scorers, but they're not pure jump shooters. So I think you have to be most concerned about the Lakers. I mean, they won that game the other night against the Nuggets, and then you went in the locker room. You seen in the locker room, I thought they clinched the playoff spot. I really thought they clinched the playoff spot the way they were celebrating. It was just really crazy to me. So yeah, by out of those 3 teams, by far, I think the Lakers are the most concerning team, because I just don't see with those 3 guys being there that they're going to be able to make any noise in the Western Conference.
And it's funny that you say they're celebrating. Has to have times changed, because if this was Kobe Bryant, he would have looked at them like they were crazy. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. But if he was here, he would have said, "What are we celebrating about?" So we won 1 game, and we still probably just got by this team. But Jay, what are you? Which team are you most concerned about out of the 3?
Man, as bad as Brooklyn is, and it is bad, they're a complete mess. I think I agree with K-Walk here. It's the Lakers, and the reason I say that is because I feel like even if the Lakers go out and play their best game with that team, they're still going to be a bad team. They're still going to lose a lot of games. Whereas Brooklyn, I think if you could get the right coach in there and everybody could get on the same page, and I know that's a big if, but I feel like if they did come together, they could still actually be a pretty decent team. Whereas LA, I just don't think that roster is good enough. So I would be most concerned about LA just because I think there's a serious talent deficit on that roster. They just don't have what it takes to really compete in the West.
Yeah, I might have to make this unanimous, guys. I look at the Brooklyn Nets. They still have so much talent. I think they could get away with a lot of games because they have KD, and because unfortunately they do have Kyrie. As crazy as he may be at times, he's still a talent, a big time talent. The Clippers, the biggest thing for them is health. Kawhi is not healthy again. I don't know what this man does in the offseason. How do you sit out all of last season? Barely played. I don't even think he played in the preseason. And then you hurt again. I don't know what he does. But we know if they're healthy, they're a good team. The Lakers, I don't know what they're going to do. Anthony Davis is always hurt. He doesn't command the basketball like LeBron would like for him to. LeBron is not the same type of player that he once was when he was younger. He's still a talent, a great talent at the age of almost 40 in a couple years, but he doesn't have the same abilities that he has, where he would lift up his team, make the players around him better, or just open it up for the players. And then I think some of the talent on this team is not as good neither, that from the years past that LeBron had outside of AD and himself. So I have to agree. I have to go with the Lakers. But my next one is, which team do you think will make a quick turnaround? Jay, I'm coming to you first.
Out of those three, oh man, I don't think it can be the Lakers. You said quick, so I don't feel like Brooklyn's going to be a quick fix. Maybe by mid-season, can they get that train back on the tracks? Possibly, but I don't think it's going to be quick. I think you got to default to the Clippers here, just because they do have a good roster. I mean, they have a good team, and you're right about Kawhi. I feel like he needs a nickname as well, just like Anthony Davis, because he's out as much as AD is out. But I do think they have a good roster, the best roster out of these three teams that we're talking about. So I trust the Clippers the most to make a quick turnaround, because those other two teams, they just feel like they're so far off right now.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree. The biggest thing with the Clippers is health. Outside of that, they have everything. They have the depth, they have shooting, they have defense that you want. They have the superstar power that you need, and they have good coaching. Yeah. The other two teams, they need a lot of work, and to me, Brooklyn is actually not that far off. They just got to put their egos aside. They need a leader in that locker room, and they don't have that. KD is supposed to be the leader, but he's not vocal enough. Kyrie basically tries to be the leader, but he needs to stop talking so much, and just focus on showing up and and working. But and the Lakers are, I'm gonna say it again, they just hot garbage. I can't say anything about them. But K-Walk, which team do you think will make a quick turnaround?
Yeah, I think, after everything I said about the Lakers, I think I would just immediately eliminate them from being the ones that can make the quick turnaround, unless, they trade LeBron, but I don't see that happening. But the other two, I didn't really get to talk about, the ego thing with Kyrie is, I don't think there's any coaching Kyrie. I really don't think so. I think Kyrie is going to be Kyrie. Kyrie just loves the attention away from the basketball court. We talked about last year. We talked about the with the whole thing with the COVID and not being vaccinated. Now the whole thing with this book and everything's going on with that, and it just seems like he loves the drama away from the court. So I don't think there's any coaching. Kyrie, to be honest with you. So I'm gonna default, like Jay said. I'm gonna default to the Clippers. You look for a nickname for Leonard. I mean, Kawhi, are you hurt now? Or Kawhi, are you on the bench now?
That's good.
That's the only thing I can think of at the top of my head. But so I'm gonna default to those guys, man. I'll say they don't make as long as Kawhi can stay on the court and stay healthy. I think they could be the ones that make the quick turnaround.
And then my last question is, do you think any of these teams will make a big trade soon? Trade deadline's not till February, but the way some of these teams are playing, it looks like they need something fast. K-Walk, I'm coming to you. Which team do you think will make a big trade soon?
I guess for me, it puts Brooklyn here. Puts Brooklyn as a spot there. I think if they make a trade, Jay mentioned, unless you're going to trade, Kyrie, I think that might be the best move for them, to get some real solid pieces in there. And I think if you take Kyrie away from KD, and then hopefully you can get Ben Simmons right. But I'm like with Jay, I don't think there's any hope for that right now, at least in the near future. So I'm going to say if the Nets can pull the trigger and trade Kyrie and get some real pieces in there, man, I think they will be the ones that make the trade before any of the other two. Because like I stated earlier with the Lakers, I just don't see any I don't see them getting anything from other than those big three, and I don't see them trading any of those three other than maybe Russell Westbrook. But I'm going to say the Nets here. If the Nets make a trade, I think they can, they can salvage something out of this season.
Yeah, you know what, K? I was thinking maybe the Lakers getting rid of Russell Westbrook, but they need so much more. I still don't think that's enough. But I think I'm agree with you on this one. I think the Clippers are rock solid. Again, like we said, they just need to stay healthy. That's the biggest key for them, because they have chemistry. They play well together. I just feel like, and the nervous part about the Brooklyn Nets is if you get rid of Kyrie, how will KD then feel? Right? Will KD say, you know what? Okay, thank goodness this is over. The drama is good. Now we can just go and play. That is the hope as a Brooklyn Nets fan, as the Brooklyn Nets front office and organization. But there's always that little voice in the back of your mind that says, will KD decide to leave if they get rid of Kyrie as well? Because I think Kyrie needs to go. He needs to go to his own team where he could control every aspect of that team.
Yeah.
But all I care is send him to OKC. they'll appreciate him down there. Exactly. They'll appreciate him down there. But I just think they need a big trade, and maybe consider Ben Simmons at times. It's like does so much potential, but he doesn't want to tap into that potential. And when you look on the court, it's playing 4-on-5 basketball. And it looks like the Nets organization did not learn from the Sixers organization. 4-on-5 basketball does not work out when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. You need players that can score, especially when Ben Simmons is playing the point guard position. Like, come on. I know people always want to say Rajon Rondo, but Rajon Rondo was willing to shoot the ball. He may have missed, but he was willing to shoot. Yeah. But Jay, what are your thoughts? Which team do you think will make a trade?
You think about Westbrook, and I think the Lakers would be willing to move him, but I just don't know that you can really get any value back that's really going to make your team better. So I agree with you guys. I think it's got to be the Nets. There's some rumors kind of floating around today. I was watching some stuff that they're talking about maybe moving Kyrie, but also the possibility of just blowing the whole thing up and starting over. So I don't think anything is off the table right now in Brooklyn. I think Kyrie, that's kind of the most obvious move. See what you can get for him. But I also think maybe giving KD his wish that he requested in the offseason, he wanted to go. Maybe they're just going to blow that whole thing up, get as many pieces as they can, and try to start over. So I wouldn't be surprised at either one of those things happening. But I do think Brooklyn is that team that's probably going to make a move before these other two.
Yeah, I think if they don't turn it around after the Steve Nash firing, things will definitely change within this organization. And maybe Ben Simmons gets his wish and he gets the team, his own team, like he's been asking for the last so many years. Kate was like,
I don't know what that would look like. I'm just trying to imagine what that would look like.
The nickname to the Scaredy Cats, because that ain't gonna be good. That ain't gonna be good.
All right, guys, we're gonna switch gears because I know our time is going by fast, but we want to switch gears because we gotta talk about some NFL. It's been a lot of big time NFL news today. For those who don't know, who are watching this right now, the NFL trade deadline was today at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And there have been some big time trades today over the course of the last week. I know, from instance, my Eagles went and got Robert Quinn. I know 49ers went and got Christian McCaffrey and a lot of other big trades. But from you guys, if you could think about it real quick, what are your top 2 or 3 trades that occurred today? Jay, I'm going to come to you first, or over the course of the week.
Well, yeah, I don't know if we can count the Christian McCaffrey thing, but that's huge. I think that's the best, the biggest. You see the impact that he's made on the 49ers right away. So I thought that was a 100% win for San Francisco. The other ones I was looking at are kind of under the radar. I think this is a sneaky good one, but the Jacksonville Jaguars got Calvin Ridley today. Now, I know he's suspended right now, with the whole gambling thing. I don't even know is he out for the whole year, or does he come back at some point?
Yeah,
the whole year. But that's going to pay off down the road. Like, they're not going to get anything out of it right now, but he's going to be really good for them down the road. So I thought that was a sneaky good trade. And then also Bradley Chubb from Denver going to Miami, outside linebacker. I think he's going to help them as well. So those were kind of the 2 that jumped out at me. But obviously, if the McCaffrey one, I think that's the steal of the season. He's going to be great for San Francisco.
What about you, K-Walk?
Yeah, I mean, you already know how I feel about the McCaffrey deal. A lot of people are saying, well, if it wasn't for McCaffrey, you guys wouldn't have won. Yes, I mean, it's starting to be like it's if we don't have McCaffrey, we can't win. It's like last season we don't have Debo, we can't win. So we got both of them. So I guess hopefully we can win even more. But but the 2 trades that stuck out for me, I thought the TJ Hawkinson deal from going from Detroit to Minnesota was huge because Minnesota just lost Irv Smith Jr. For 8 to 10 weeks with that injury. So them picking him up, and now right now, Kirk Cousins is in the same situation as Jimmy G. There's no reason for you to mess this up. You got those weapons. You got Adam Thielen. You got Justin Jefferson. You got Dalvin Cook. Now you got T.J. Hockenson. I thought that was a real good move for them. Them being 6-1, have a strong manhold on that division in the North. So I thought that was huge. And I also thought the Hines move from the Colts going and Buffalo picking up Hines from the Colts also solidified that offense as well. I mean, good gracious, these offenses, we mentioned Christian McCaffrey going to that 49ers, but those two moves right there for the Minnesota and for Buffalo are two sneaky moves as well, because it's just going to give Josh Allen another weapon, and that's scary. Like they say, the rich are getting richer right now. So those are the two moves that I like the most.
Yeah, he took one of my running backs, but it's okay. But I think for me, that Calvin Ridley to the Jags, I know that's more of a future type of move. Yeah. But between him and Stephon Diggs, they're two of the best route runners in the league. And they officially got their number one receiver. Between him and Christian Kirk on the other side, they went and got Trevor Lawrence that move. Yeah. This is going to be an offense to definitely watch out for the future. So that's definitely one. I did like that TJ Hockenson one to the Vikings as well. I think that was something they definitely needed. Another offensive weapon, big body tight end, go up and get the football. He's definitely going to. Yeah, that's going to be it's going to be interesting. I hope we don't play them again, but it's definitely going to be interesting. But we did get Robert Quinn, so hopefully that helps us out. And I don't want to say this. I don't want to say this at all. I really don't want to say it.
Go on and say it, Britt.
But I'm gonna say it, because I'm an analyst too. It was a small move that nobody's really talking about that was added. I cannot remember his name, and it just came back to me at the top of my head. But the Dallas Cowboys actually went out and got that defensive tackle to help in a run game, because that is one part of the defense they struggled with, and it was the big body defensive tackle. I forgot who they got him from. I think that was actually a decent move for them as well to really help ensure that defensive line, to help fix that running defense issue. So that's going to be an interesting one. I still don't think that's better than my Robert Quinn move, but I have to give Dallas props on that because I think that's going to help them, and that move is going to make them even more dangerous on the defensive side. There you got Michael Parsons.
I think it's Jonathan Hankins. I looked it up real quick. That might be the guy you're talking about, Jonathan Hankins.
Yeah. He's not a big name. He's not like this superstar type of player, but it's just a big body to plug in that middle to help stop the run game. And I think it's going to be a big move. All right, guys.
I agree.
One more, and then, we got to get to our rants. I know we come in a little bit down on time here. But I really want to ask you guys this question, because this year's, you know what? I'm changing it. I realized something. We didn't get to college football. I'm changing it. See, this is what we do, live streaming stuff. We change stuff and real fast. We got to talk about Ohio State versus Penn State, and I didn't talk about it.
We don't have to. We don't have to, Rick. You could have skipped it. I'm okay.
But we got to talk about it. So, but this past weekend, it was a great rivalry matchup between Ohio State and Penn State. Ohio State did end up beating Penn State 44-31, but it was a great game, probably up until the fourth quarter. What were your thoughts on the game? Jay, I'll come to you first because you are the Penn State alum and you don't really want to talk about it. So we'll get yours over with first.
The thing that bothers me the most about the game is that Penn State controlled the game for most of the game. I mean, they stood nose to nose with Ohio State. They handled them well at the line of scrimmage. You just can't turn the ball over 4 times and expect to beat a team like Ohio State. It's just not going to happen. So for me, it was just frustrating because after, you lose a game to Michigan, you walk away from that saying, you know what, they were better than we were. Nothing we can do about it. you come out of the Ohio State game feeling like, man, that's a game we could have won had we just played a little bit better. So I don't know. I mean, for me, it's just frustrating. Turn the ball over 4 times. Don't make plays when you have to. I mean, it was 21-16, Penn State leading with 6 minutes left in the game. And then Ohio State scores like 21 or 28 points to close out the game. So just ridiculous, just frustrating to be that close, but not being able to get over the hump.
All I'm going to say before I come to you, K-Walk, Marvin Harrison Jr. is
he's ridiculous.
Dog.
He's ridiculous.
Real deal.
He is a straight dog. He's from out here, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, his dad's from out here, so is he. He is unstoppable. He is every quarterback's dream receiver. I don't know how you stop this guy, because it looks
I
like
think he's only a sophomore, so you got to see him again next year. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
And it's like the whole game, I felt like Penn State had him pretty much under control, and then he just broke loose.
Yeah.
He was like, he broke loose. But I have to give credit to Penn State, because for those who don't know, I'm an Ohio State fan. I've been an Ohio State fan since I was little, on the fault of Eddie George. But Penn State played very well, and I was angry. I was literally upset. I was like, I can't watch this. Like, this is ridiculous. You know, I'm happy because it's home, but at the same time, I'm an Ohio State and we're rivals. So it's just like, come on, Buckeyes, what's going on? But they kept it competitive. They made it difficult for CJ Stroud, and especially in that first half, first 3 quarters. But Ohio State said, you know what? We got Marvin Harrison Jr. We got to stop playing games, and it's time to put this baby away. And that's exactly what they did when they scored 4 touchdowns in that fourth. But I have to give credit to Penn State, because they definitely played hard during the first 3.5 quarters. But K-Walk, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch this game. I was in Pennsylvania. I was, it was a reunion for some of our guys in college, man, 30-year reunion. Yeah, I'm dating myself. So I didn't get a chance to watch this game. But what I'm reading the thread, and I'm reading to Jason's thread, and I'm reading everybody say, oh, Penn State, oh, they got the leader, or whatever they're saying. I'm like, oh, man, I'm missing this game, man. I really wanted to see this game. And I couldn't wait to get back to my hotel room, even though I knew that the game was probably going to be over, but I just wanted to see the highlights and get a breakdown. But from everything that I've seen, Ohio State just showed, I'm nothing to take away from Penn State, because I said last week that they were going to show the heart of a lion, and I kind of builded you up, Jake, because I thought I was going to Penn State. But that's the kind of game that I thought Penn State would come out and play. They were going to play a hard-fought game. It wasn't going to make it easy for Ohio State, but I just thought the overall talent of Ohio State was going to prevail, and that's what it did. CJ Stroud, who I think should win the Heisman Trophy this year. Then you got, you guys mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr. as well, played against his father in college. Gosh, I'm dating myself like a mug today. But yeah, I mean, just a great game, and that just shows you what type of team that Ohio State, even when it looks bleak for them, they find a way to win, and that's what champions do. But hats off to the Nittany Lions for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But real quick before we get in this into this rant, I just need your predictions real quick. It's a big time game coming up this weekend, November 5th at 3:30 p.m. between the Tennessee Bulls, I think that's how you say it, right? The Volunteers Bulls.
Yeah.
At the Georgia Bulldogs. So you got quarterback Hendon Hooker.
Hooker to Hyatt.
versus Georgia. But this will be a very fun, exciting matchup. I will definitely try to catch this one, hopefully. Who do you think will win? And do you think Hendon Hooker can have another great game against a top 3 college football team? K-Walk, I'm coming to you first.
This is a good one, Brett. This is going to be the brawl for it all, if you will. I like Hendon, man. I really do like him, and I like the way he's leading this team. These guys are riding high. They have so much confidence right now. Georgia looked very beatable last week against the Florida Gators. I don't know if they were playing down to Florida, or if they just, that's just the way they look. That's just who they are at this point. So with that being said, I'm going to take Tennessee. I think Tennessee wins this game.
Okay.
I think Tennessee comes out. I think Hendon will do his job, man. I think he will get these guys going. I think Hyatt will have an outstanding. They're going to focus on Hyatt, but I think Hendon's going to spread that ball around for the most part and get it done. So we're going to see a new number 1 team this time next year, ladies and gentlemen.
Man.
I mean, next week, excuse me. Yes.
Ooh, we gonna definitely see. But Jay, what's your thoughts?
Look, I think K-Walk is to his point about Hendon Hooker. I think Tennessee is going to score a lot of points on Georgia. And I agree, K-Walk. Georgia has looked disinterested in some of their games. But I think that Tennessee is going to have their attention this week. And I think Georgia wins on the strength of their running game and that tight end, Brock Bowers. There is just no answer for him at all. I like Georgia by 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to end up beating Tennessee by a couple of touchdowns, but Tennessee will score a lot of points. Tennessee will get at least 30, but Georgia's going to score a lot too. I'm taking the dogs in this one.
See, this one's difficult. I would like to go with one team. So here's my thoughts. Tennessee can score with the best of them, but can they stop anybody?
Right.
They barely got past Alabama. They couldn't stop them, but thank goodness Hendon Hooker to Hyatt, they were able to outscore Alabama. But Georgia, to me, has a much better defense than Alabama does, and I think they're going to hold them just a little bit. Hold them. It's going to be difficult, but I think they'll hold them up just a little bit. And I think I might have to agree with Jay on this one. I think Georgia's defense will make a play that's needed for them to succeed. But if I'm being honest, I would love to see Hendon Hooker win this game. I really honestly would, because I think if he wins this game, he may be top running in that Heisman Trophy running. I know he's in it now, but I think he might be because you went and beat 2, I think already. Well, yeah, 2 big time teams, Alabama and Georgia. If he wins this one, so it's definitely going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting.
And plan to see Hendon Hooker out of the pocket, rolling out left and right, to get away from that rush because Georgia has a great defensive line. We know that. Yep. So I think they're going to soften that line up and slow down that rush just by getting him out of the pocket.
Yep. All right, guys. So we're coming to the end of the show. Now, normally what we do is we take about 30 seconds to 60 seconds to do a quick rant. You can rant about whatever we want to rant about. Something's going on with one of your teams, something's going on in general when it comes to sports. So you pick and choose and you just go at it. So K-Walk, I'm going to come to you first. Your time will start soon, but go let us know what you're going to rant about and rant.
Yeah, I don't need the whole minute for this one, ladies and gentlemen, but this is not my team. I could care less what happens to this team, but nonetheless, I do like Aaron Rodgers. So with that being said, Green Bay Packers, organization there, can you please get this man some help on the outside? We're talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. Not only 2 years ago did you have one of the best wide receiver classes of all time, 32 receivers go, and you don't pick any of them. And then what do you do 2 years after that? You trade away that arguably, in my opinion, he's the best receiver in the game of Devontae Adams, so he can go hang out with his college buddy. Now the trade deadline comes today, ladies and gentlemen. There was Jerry Jeudy out there. There was Brandon Cooks out there that was available for you. There was a plethora of receivers out there that were on the block, and you guys did not. And it was Claypool, and you lost to a division rival, to the Bears, to not get him. So Green Bay Packers, get it together. Get this man some help, or leave the man alone when it comes down to him not winning. Get that man some help on the outside.
You got that right. The problem is Aaron Rodgers too daggone greedy. He had to command all that money, didn't he? But I agree with you. I agree. All right, Jay, what you got? Go ahead and rant.
Look, I'm ranting about my Brooklyn Nets tonight. Brooklyn Nets, you are ruining my NBA watching experience because you guys don't play winning basketball. You're sloppy. You turn the ball over. You refuse to commit on the defensive end. And Kevin Durant is living proof that great players are not always great leaders. He's a fantastic player, but absolutely refuses to lead that team in the way that they need to be led. Brooklyn Nets, get it together, save my NBA season, or else I'm jumping on a different bandwagon. Brooklyn Nets, get it together. You're killing me right now.
And we know Jay is not afraid to jump to a different bandwagon. He will make that leap real quick.
No loyalty.
He is not
here.
Ben Simmons. He's the opposite of Ben Simmons. For me, my rant's a little different, guys. Okay. I got to combat every single defensive player in the NFL. Doesn't matter which team you play on, because I'm tired. I'm tired of watching these games. NFL players do not like to, let me correct this, defense. And actually, it's been offense when there's a turnover. They don't like to tackle. Where is the tackling? All I see is swiping at the football. Why are you swiping? What is that going to do? I understand you want the turnover, but wrap up your defender and take them to the ground. You're not going to always get a turnover. Stop swiping like you're on Dora the Explorer. You are not a swiper. What the heck is going on? And it's aggravating to me as a football fan to see the offensive player get an extra 5 to 10 yards because you don't want to do what you're supposed to do. So I'm going to say this again because it's annoying and it's frustrating. Tackle. Wrap them up and tackle. And I know all of our teams do it. I've seen the Eagles do it. I've seen the Cowboys do it. I've seen the 49ers do it, although the 49ers had the best defense in my opinion. But I've seen them do it too. I'm tired of it. Okay? Get it together, people. Get it together.
Yeah, a lot of people out there making business decisions. A lot of people making business decisions. They don't want to stick their head in there.
Swiper, no swiping. Oh, man.
All right, guys. Normally we do our balling segment. I don't know if you guys have any ballers tonight. Do you?
I do.
I think I got one.
You got one? All right. So we'll go real quick and do our balling segment. This is the segment where we just highlight a player in whatever league and, just give them the credit for playing hard. But Jay, you want to go first? Who's your baller?
Thank you for letting me go first because I might be stealing K-Walks here, but I'm going Christian McCaffrey, man. San Francisco 49ers, that was a huge pickup. If you saw the game on Sunday, what'd he do, K-Walk? He threw for one. He ran for one. Did he catch one too?
He caught one too, yeah.
So he did all three, man. He pulled off the hat trick. McCaffrey absolutely balling for the 49ers.
Yes, he was. I seen that game. Great pickup. I hate to say it, but great pickup. But K-Walk, who's your baller?
Yeah, I knew somebody was going to steal that one, so I had a backup. But I think, no, actually, that was my backup, to believe it or not. But I'm going to go who the guy I ran it against last week, and that's Jimmy G. Jimmy G, I think Jimmy G heard my rant last week. I said, don't mess it up. All you have to do is just put the ball in the playmaker's hands and let them do what they do. And that's what he did. He was 21 for 25, 235 yards, and 2 touchdowns. No sacks, or a couple sacks. That wasn't his fault. And no interceptions. So there, my man Jimmy G finally understood the assignment, got it done, and he was balling.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff.
He was. That's the scary team. As an Eagles fan, I'm scared of the 49ers. If they get healthy, I think they're a great team in that team. They're a great team in that NFC. But my baller, and I was going to go with AJ Brown because we all know how he did. He did great. But I decided to switch it and bring it to NBA because this guy gets disrespected a lot. Last year he's old, he's slow, he don't got it no more. Well, he showed up and showed out yesterday. I'm saying it. Yes. James Harden last night, he had 23 points, 7 rebounds, but 17 assists. Golly, he was making plays yesterday in a 118-111 victory against the Wizards. Guys, you got to give it to him. 17 assists for a so-called ball hog. That's a good game. I have to give him. James Harden was balling. Come on, Jay, just give it to him one time.
He was all right. I can't go that far, Britt. I'm sorry. I can't go that far.
It was
17 assists. That was a lot. That was a lot, guys. See, y'all be hating on my teams. I swear y'all do.
I know.
I swear y'all do. But all right, guys, we come to the end of the show. We're just going to go around. Just tell us, what you're looking forward to this week and how people can find you. Jay, go take this one first.
Yeah, what I'm looking forward to, I can't wait for the weekend. College football, we got some really, really great games this weekend, so I cannot wait for that. Obviously, I'll be checking out the NBA stuff all throughout the week. I think my Brooklyn Nets play again tonight against Chicago, so it'll be interesting to see what they look like without Steve Nash on the sideline. You can find me at Jason Talk Sports on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter at Jason Talk Sports. So check me out there and give me a follow.
K-Walk.
Yeah, I'm with the J on this one on basketball here. I got my Heat right now playing against the Warriors. They're up right now. Hopefully they can keep that lead going. Tomorrow night. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking today's Wednesday. So Thursday night, we got the Eagles your Eagles, Britt, against the Texans. So we're going to see some scoring there. We're not going to see any field goals there for sure. Maybe one or two, but we're definitely going to see some score from the Eagles. Can't say too much about the Texans. Saturday, I got to see 1 versus 2. We mentioned it earlier. We got Tennessee versus Georgia. We definitely want to dive into that for sure. So I'm looking for that. My Niners are on a bye this week, so I'm gonna be enjoying a plethora of football. NFL. Where you can catch me at Kevin.Walker 142 on Instagram. You got Twitter at Kevin Walker 142 and Facebook Kevin Walker.
Yeah, for me, Phillies tonight. I got to shout out all my Philadelphia teams. I got to shout out the Philadelphia Phillies. I got to shout out the Philadelphia Eagles. And I have to shout out our soccer team, the Philadelphia Union, who has made it to the MLS Cup. Philly has been doing it this year, which is great. I think the city really needs a lot of craziness going on in the city. So we need the positivity coming to the city. So please pray for the city. But yeah, I'll be looking forward to baseball, the World Series. Also, like K-Walk said, Eagles versus Texans on Thursday. I'm sorry, today's Tuesday. Thursday night, which is going to be interesting. And then, of course, football will be coming up this weekend. But you guys can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Brittany Monique as well. And please, please, please share our YouTube channel, subscribe, comment, let us know your thoughts but the SideLine Speaks. It's called the SideLine Speaks. So please share our channel as well. But I just want to thank you guys for tuning in today. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, K-Walk. Oh, and thank you to Jay's brother, our special guest today, Super Bowl winner, college national championship. He's just a winner all around, Mr. Andre Collins. Please check him out. I think he had his Instagram up. It was at Andre Collins Cafe. So please go check him out as well. He's doing big things after football, outside of football also. But I will request one thing. Please spread love always. Be kind to each other and support one another because we need it. And we are actually one big community. We just have to understand that and recognize that as well. But we will see you guys next week. Thank you and have a good night from the SideLine Speaks.